I was younger, I used to go to the basketball courts. I used to play basketball, and my neighborhood was full of bad people. And I always saw cops protecting the neighborhood. It was like they were my role models. Like they inspired me to protect citizens. But then this one time I went through a major conflict and it was horrible. So that changed my point of view with becoming an officer and law enforcement. Now the experience was that one day I was in my house and I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. So me and my friend decided to go downstairs for a little walk. So as we going downstairs, we still deciding where to go. So we're like, let's just go to Dunkin' Donuts. So when we go downstairs, we leave the lobby. We go out the front door. I'm like, who's that coming over here? My friend's like, that's two cops. I'm like, well, I wonder what happened in my building. So they come and they immediately say, hey, you guys, stand right there. You have ID? I said, no, officer, I don't have an ID. He was like, do you live here? I said, why, yes, I do. Apartment 14K. And then he was like, oh, yeah? Turn around and put your hands up against the wall. I was like, well, why? What did I do? He said, just do as I said. I was like, okay, officer. So he searched me and my friend. We were both clean. He let us go. So as they enter the lobby, I'm saying to my friend, damn, what happened? Why was the cop being like that? And the cop said, what you said? I said, oh, I'm not talking to you. And then he said, oh, you better. And then he said a foul word, which I'm not going to say. So then I jumped down look, there's 4 stairs to my building before you enter. So I jumped down, and then the cop was like, oh, where you going? I was like, nowhere. He was like, oh, you better run. And I said, I'm not running. And then he said, oh, you getting loud? I said, no. So then I kept walking. And when I was walking, I made a right through my building to walk through a parking lot. I remember. So me and my friend are walking to Dunkin' Donuts. And then I hear something. So I look back. And I just see like 3 officers running towards me. So I didn't know what to do. So I said to my friend, yo, we out. And then I started running. I ran around the building that was in front of me. And I was gonna cut through the park. But before I cut through the park, I saw that the police officers were going inside the handball courts to cut me off. So then I continued running the same route. And then I turned at the next light. And I ran inside some building. And I just stood there for like 10 minutes without knowing what to do. I was clueless. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. I was just looking around the building, trying to remember if I knew somebody that lived in there. And then I just saw a camera looking at me. I just looked at it, and then I was like, wow, they're watching me. So then I decided to leave through the back because I thought that the cops had left already. So I leave through the back. I walk out the door, and I try to walk up the hill like if nothing happened. So as I'm walking, some guys in the park by the swings with 2 girls. And he's like, yo, was it you that was running from the cops? So I'm like, what? Who is this? So I'm trying to see if I know who it is. So I went and I crossed the street. And I said, oh, excuse me, do you have a cell phone? And then he said, yeah. So I was like, oh, can I use it to call my friend? So I was calling my friend, and my friend didn't pick up. So then I started yelling out his name to see if I'll hear him so that I can meet up with him. I was screaming, no response. So then I look up the hill and I just see the police car coming down. So I see them coming down, and then I just started running up. And I hopped over a little fence type of thing. So I hopped over it and I ran through the grass to try to cut through the turf to go to my building. So as I'm running, the cop is on the other side of the gate. It's a long gate, about like 15 feet. And he's like, oh, you better keep running. So I just looked at him, kept running, and then I hopped over again. And then at the top of the hill, there was a store. So I ran inside my friend's building. Well, I tried to get inside. I was ringing his apartment, ringing, to see if his mom was there or if he was there so that he could open the door. So they didn't open it. So then I'm like this against his door, because there's like a part like this, because you gotta walk up some steps. So I'm like this against the door. And then I go to peek. I go like that, halfway through my face. And then I see the cop doing the same thing by where the store is at. So then I'm like, damn, I'm busted. So then the officer said, oh, put your hands up against your head. I was like, okay. So I did that, and then he handcuffed me. And he threw me inside the Jeep. And when I was in the Jeep, the captain came out. And he started hitting me. And then the other cop that said, oh, why you running? Then he started hitting me, and they was just hitting me inside the Jeep. I was just trying to cover everything, trying to block. I couldn't even block because I was handcuffed. So they kept hitting me in the same spot. And then the captain, he decided to stop hitting me and to go inside of the car, inside the wheel. Well, to go in the front, to drive the car to the precinct, to the 50th precinct. So while he's driving, the officer that said that stupid comment to me, he just kept hitting me until we got there. And then when I got to the precinct, they handcuffed the handcuffs even tighter. Like I was bleeding, I had marks, it was swollen, I couldn't even turn my wrist. So then they took off the handcuffs and they put me inside some room with no cameras. And the officers that were in there, they went out and they let me inside with the 4 officers that arrested me. So once they put me in the room, they all started hitting me. All of them started hitting me. It was hitting me in my chest, my arm, my leg, everything. I was just trying to block. I didn't know what to do. Man, like, it was a really, really bad experience. Like, and when they was hitting me, I was like, yo, I'm only 16. And they were like, we don't care. I was like, wow. So then after they finished hitting me, the officer says, oh, drop your pants. I'm like, what? And then he says, drop your pants and your drawers. I'm like, what? He was like, you heard me. So he made me literally strip naked. And he searched me. And still I was clean. Even though I felt kind of violated. But then after that, they put me inside a room in the precinct. They made me wait to go to Central Bookings in 161. When I went to Central Bookings, they told me that the place was booked. So then they sent me to another precinct on Longwood. So while I was in Longwood, I was in a cell. That's when I was just thinking about everything. About my freedom, about what's gonna happen tomorrow, about why they treated me like that, if I was gonna get a lawyer, if the judge was gonna believe me, what's my mom thinking about right now, if my mom's gonna think I'm a criminal. My head was just going crazy. I had a headache. And then the next day, I wake up and they take us to 161 to go see the judge. And I'm like, finally, I could tell the judge what happened. So right before they called my name to go see the judge, the same police officer from the night before took me out the cell and he told me, alright, you did your time, go home. And I said, what do you mean? I cannot see my judge? He was like, go home before you get another beating. So I was like, okay, officer, you got it. And my name is Willie, and that's my experience, and that's my story. So everybody out there, just giving you a little warning that not all cops are good. There are bad cops and good cops. Just like there are bad humans and good humans. Amen.